everybody, it's Jenny from the Missouri Star Quilt Company, and I am here today with Natalie and Misty, and it's Triple Play Day again. So this Triple Play is kind of special because for this Triple Play, they gave us a new template to work with, these octagons. Now, to be fair, I wasn't super excited about this. Were you?
I just was unsure what I was going to do.
We're like, we have three sizes, small, medium, and large. But once we started working with them, I can hardly wait to show you what we did because we had some real fun. We love a challenge like that. You know, we like them going, here, what can you girls do with this? And then we just figure it out. And so we're super excited about it now. And we're going to start with Misty with the small octagons.
All right.
You ready?
Let's do it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so this is my quilt behind me. It's called Octagon Blooms, and it's a nice big quilt. It measures 87 by 87, and it is so quick and easy. So I really love it.
So cute.
I love it. I love how this like little star appears in the middle.
It looks like that double square star.
It does, and I love how like when in the quilting,
I know.
somehow I don't know how this happened.
It's a miracle.
But the little bloom showed up right in the middle of the square.
Yes, I just love it.
Super cute.
It was so much fun to make and came together much faster than I even expected it to, which is always a fun surprise.
Yeah, that's great.
To make the Octagon Blooms quilt, you're going to need one package of 10-inch squares, and I use this beautiful line called Sonnet Dusk by Corri Sheff for Riley Blake. You're also going to need 4.5 yards of background fabric, 1 1/4 yards of border fabric, 8 yards of backing, some heat and Bond Lite, and the small Missouri Star Octagon template. So to start, you're going...
First, I think you all should notice Misty's earrings.
Oh, yes.
She has these little hexagon earrings, almost
octagons. I know, I was like, so close, but that's
really
okay.
Cute.
So to start off, we're going to open up our heat and bond. And for this pattern, since we need to get 8 matching octagons, you need 2 matching 10-inch squares. And
Here,
you're
want
just...
me to
Yes,
cut
please.
this for you?
And we're just going to...
Wow.
Got the dull scissors, I think. Too many papers or
Everything.
tape or something with that.
I don't know.
We're going to fuse 2 matching 10-inch squares to our heat and bond. So I'm just going to open this up and cut us a 10-inch square. I guess I need it to go this way.
Here, Natalie, stick that in the trash down there.
There we go. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There we go. And these rumples make it kind of hard, but that's all right. I think that's right. Okay, and so then Matt, if you just want to press this to the back of one of our squares.
Sure. Just lay that straight on.
Yeah.
I think if you're worried about it being over, you could use a pressing cloth.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you don't want to get that stuff on your mat.
It can be just a piece of fabric that you have left over. I use like
just a scrap.
Yeah, we say pressing cloth pretty loosely because it just can be anything to cover it so it just doesn't get on your iron or your mat.
I think that's good enough.
I think that's perfect, yeah.
Okay.
So you can either go ahead and cut this in 4s now, but I just cut it in half. I found it easier to cut out my octagons if I just had some strips.
Could you just fold it into 4 and cut one octagon?
Maybe, but I just like that the sides end up right on the edge, and so then I'm only, like even with the fold, it was hard to get that side.
Okay, that makes sense.
But you can stack it once you cut it in half, and then cut 2 at a time.
This is very little waste then, just those little
corners. Very little waste, yeah. So you're just gonna have your straight edges on both sides, and we're just gonna cut and cut. Whoops, didn't get the bottom layer there. There we go. And I'm going to have to turn it. If you have a rotating mat, it does help when you're doing all this cutting.
Especially with an octagon.
Yes. So there's 2 ready. And we'll go ahead and cut 2 more.
I'm getting all the trash today.
There we go. And that one last side. I do like that they're easy to keep lined up because of all those little sides. They just kind of like lock together. There we go. Last one. There we go. And so you're going to need 8 of those for your blocks. And I have other ones that I've already cut and are ready to go from my other 10-inch square. So we can just stack those up. And now for your background fabric, you're going to cut big 20-inch blocks, which I love a quilt with big blocks. It goes together
Well,
so
and
fast.
can I say how
quick.
cool it is that you use the mustard? You know, we always tend to go with, you know, a lighter dark or something like that. And this is just so stunning.
I
with
just
that
wanted
color.
something different. I loved this line, and I thought it would be really fun to just kind of warm it up a little bit with
Yeah,
something
it's
besides
beautiful.
white as the background. So we're just going to fold this in half and press it in half both directions.
Okay.
So if you want to do that,
So you want solid, like
yep,
solid
crease lines,
crease
because
lines?
those are going to be reference points to
Okay.
put our octagons on there.
And you want it both directions?
Yep. Yes,
All right.
please.
gonna get-
Perfect.
There you go.
There we go. All right, so now we can open this up, and you can see we've got this grid here, and we're just going to peel our paper off the back of our
They're all peeled now.
octagons. And you can either score that, or I like to just kind of crease it, and it is easy to grab.
One.
And then we're just going to start lining these up, and the straight side is going to line up with those press lines, and then we're going to intersect this straight line in between.
Do they overlap ever, or
I
do they just
try
line
to-
up right on the edge?
I like to overlap them just a smidge to try and keep the background from poking through, but they really line up pretty close to that edge. And so if you want more overlap, you're just going to scoot them closer to the center,
Okay.
and that will make them overlap more.
Okay.
And so we're just going to keep going all the way around. And when I was doing the whole quilt, I have already peeled some of these too. When I was doing the whole quilt, I did this right on my pressing mat, so I didn't have to
You
move
didn't
it.
move it.
Yep, exactly.
That's a great idea.
There we go. And you just kind of adjust to make them all fit.
You could also use those silicone pins where you can iron right over
Yep.
the head of them and they don't melt.
That would
That
be
would
perfect
work, yeah.
too. You can see.
I love the star that's forming.
I do
Look
too.
at that.
It's like
That's
a
so
little
cool.
something magic in the middle there.
Yeah.
All right. And you just want to take your time and adjust and make sure they're all going to intersect. But now we're just going to press this down.
That's great.
So
Cool.
we'll just slide it
That is a
gently.
fast block right there for a 20-inch block.
I know, isn't it amazing?
Yeah.
Do you have any tips on pressing? Just like
I
press
just-
straight.
Just
On
straight
this one,
down.
wait. On this one right here, see it has the little bit of glue over the top. I would
Oh
flip
yeah,
that
put it
underneath.
under. Good.
Okay.
good
Otherwise,
tip.
it would be like, hello, iron, I love you. Would
And
stick
then
to
this
iron.
Friends
one-
forever.
when we moved it, it's.
It just takes a couple
Yeah,
of
go ahead.
seconds. It
I'm
goes.
gonna turn that one too because it's got that little glue that's peeking through, just like Jenny pointed out. There we go. Perfect.
All right.
And yeah, you just don't want to scoot your iron because you don't want to lift up and get that heat and bond on it. And if you are worried about it, you can put a pressing cloth over
Now,
it.
while she's ironing this,
Uh-huh.
I'm from the generation of quilting where I don't love raw edges.
Yeah.
And so I was actually thinking about this because the quilt is so stunning. It's so beautiful. And I thought, well, you could use the interfacing that is heat and has
And
the,
turn it right sides
and
up.
just turn them, and then all those edges would be in.
Yep.
And
I thought about that too, and I just really wanted this to be so fast, and
Yeah.
I don't mind the raw edge. And so
Yeah.
I was like, I'm going for it.
yeah, I think totally it's a personal preference.
Absolutely, but that's a great
But,
option if
yeah.
it bothers you.
Yeah, I think that's really fun.
Yeah.
I actually went over and looked at it when you were working on it to see if it was. I'm like, did she set these in?
I know.
And you were like, nope. And I'm just like, huh, that is really cool. Because sometimes we need a quick quilt. And I mean, obviously, when you quilt right over the top of them, it's going to hold it all down.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
And then you did
it's
stitch
good.
right along the edge.
Yeah, and so you can use whatever stitching you want at this point. So if you want to do a blanket stitch to enclose more of that raw edge, that would work. I just did a straight stitch, and I actually only did the outside perimeter and the inside. I didn't even bother with my little middles.
Oh, nice.
But you could, it's however you want to finish it. You could do a decorative stitch in between.
Sure.
Would be really, really great. But as you can see, it's holding up beautifully with the quilting and it looks awesome. So that's really it. Now all I did is top stitch just a skinny line all the way around.
Perfect.
So it's almost no sew until you go to put your blocks together, and it's just 4 big blocks across and 4 down. And then this is a 5-inch outer border.
And
So
literally,
that's
this
great.
is almost a 90 by 90
Yes.
quilt. It's 87 by 87, but I mean, that's
yeah,
so
you
close.
can enlarge
Yes.
the borders and make
Exactly.
it bigger
Oh yeah,
pretty
you put a couple of
quickly.
borders on there, and it's a queen size quilt.
Exactly. So
That's
super
awesome.
quick and easy.
And your cute stitch pattern
yes.
is botanical blossoms.
Botanical blossoms and the backing.
Oh,
we
that's
use
beautiful.
That
That
same
is a beautiful
butterfly
set.
print.
Moths.
I know, they're so pretty.
And then how wide's your border?
It's 5 inches.
Okay,
Yep.
5-inch border.
5-inch border.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So that's it. So Jenny, are you up next?
I'm up next.
All right.
Okay, so this is the fun part to me about triple play because ours are so,
So
different.
different.
So different.
Yep.
So I use the medium template, and let's take a look at this quilt.
It's so pretty,
isn't it
Jenny.
fun? It's just happy, it's cute. Of course, a lot of that has to do with the fabric. I want to point out, for any of you younger people that are watching, these are telephones. These are what we used to use
It's a
before we
rotary
used this.
dial phone.
A rotary dial, and they have them in several colors. Here's the blue
They're
one.
so cute.
My grandma
They're
had a
really
rotary
cute.
phone at her house, and I loved it when I was little.
Oh, I remember, Natalie,
loved it.
you bought a house that had a rotary
Uh-huh.
phone in it, and your kids were like, what is this? And,
Yeah, it was
and
the cutest thing. I wanted to leave it attached, but when the phone guy came to put in our internet, he said we had to take it down so that he
Well,
could
and they
use
were-
that outlet.
I remember they were
darn.
so shocked because they're like, well, how did you walk around? You're like, no, we just had a
You
cord.
stretched the cord.
By the phone.
We would wind up in the cord and
Yes.
unwind. Yeah, it was a great deal.
I love that.
Anyway,
really
let me
cute.
show you how to make this because it's really easy and really fun. To make the Good Vibrations quilt, you're going to need 1 packet of 10-inch squares, and we have used Between Friends by Shannon Christensen for Windham Fabrics. For your background, you're going to need 1 roll of 1.5-inch strips and 1.5 yards of yardage. For your border, you're going to need 1.25 yards. And for your backing, you will need 5 yards of fabric, and we've used this cute telephone fabric. You're also going to need the medium Octagon template by Missouri Star. I'm using layer cake squares here, nice big 10-inch squares, and I have 4 stacked up right here. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut 1.5 inch strip off of both sides. So I'm going to cut one here, and then one more, and just set these up here.
Off the
Oh, so it
same
doesn't
side?
have to
Yep.
be off both sides because you're trying to get a certain size square for your
And
middles.
then I'm turning this and doing it off both sides, you see, off the top and the side.
Oh, so 2.5 strips.
Yeah.
Oh, I get it now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So now we have this little square left, and we're going to plop this little guy on here, right here.
Would you
And just
look
like
at
that, he fits on
Oh,
there. And all we're doing
perfect.
is cutting off the corners, like this.
You got, how many layers do you have there?
I just
4?
have 4. Just 4.
4 is pretty decent.
I'm impressed
That's
with
about
your
the,
underarm cutting.
Yeah.
I couldn't
Be
master
careful
that.
when you cut. Be careful when you cut. You know, we just want to do that. All right.
So I don't have a rotating mat. I mean, I could if I wanted to, but I just don't usually get it out. And
Yeah.
I have my my cutting mat on the edge of my table
Yes.
so that I just rotate myself.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I'll cut on this side and then I'll scoot over and cut on this side.
Yeah.
And it helps a lot with that, and then I'm not like going under and over
Exactly.
and feeling all funky.
All right. So I have 4 different middles here. And back here, you want to make sure you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 25 squares are going to be your middles. The rest of the squares you're just going to cut into strips.
Okay.
1.5 inch strips. So what we did on these is I took these, and there's 8 sides. So on 4 of the sides, I started with my these strips right here, and I just sewed them to the outside edge, and they're all different and they're all random, and I have a bunch over here.
So you do all your cutting ahead
So
of
what we're
time.
going to do, yeah, you can actually cut these in half and get 2 out of these. And so, like, save all your little pieces because you'll be able to get them. And so if you want to go ahead and sew, I'll cut you a bunch of these. You can sew these on the edges.
All right.
And I'm just going to cut a little bit off of here like that. You have some long ones, you've got some short ones. And don't fuss about it too much because we're gonna square it up in the end.
Okay,
They're gonna be
all right.
12.5-inch blocks, and we're gonna use our big 12.5-inch squaring ruler.
Awesome.
Is it here?
Yeah,
Oh.
we got it.
Okay, so then these
I
go
was
on,
like, do we have a squaring ruler?
on 4 corners?
Yeah, so
Like
skip a
1,
corner in
2.
between
Okay.
and just sew down. Yeah, go ahead and clip that thread.
Is that bugging you?
You can just
Well,
use the scissor
It
cut,
doesn't
too.
bug me.
It doesn't bug me.
I think I'll go this one next.
Maybe,
Keep them kind of.
and maybe a darker one. Now, this whole look of this quilt will change. So I start first with my color, but if you start first with the white, this whole look of this quilt is going to change.
I love that.
So don't be afraid to play with that too, because it's just fun to see what happens with these. So rather than, I just decided to use that template shape and grow out.
let it grow.
And it kind of gives a nice, a kind of a pineapple-y look. I'm calling it Good Vibrations.
I think it looks like the speaker sound.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
that's it.
The whoop, 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 whoop. Like if you imagine those big
press those.
speakers,
Okay.
how they, animate a little
Yeah.
bit.
Totally. All right, so then your white strip is 1.5" honey bun. Just like this, I used those, so then you don't have to cut those up.
There you go.
And let me show you how I trimmed this, because this will be important to you. So what I did is I'm using these straight lines along the sides to cut, and so I'm just going to lay it on there, match it up here, and just trim off these corners like this. And come around here like this. Again, you line it up on that inside square. And then right here as well. And this is one where you want to make that nest because you're cutting, you're ironing, you're
cut and
sewing, you're
press.
pressing. And I'm going to
cute.
trim off this selvage right here so it doesn't get in there. And then what I want you to do now is you're going to put these here corner to corner. And you're going to, what's going to happen is those little middles are going to get kind of close right there, but we'll trim them off. So go ahead and start with that.
Okay.
Wait, let me see how wide this is so I can cut
I
my...
was just about to ask if
6. I
there
think-
was a size you.
So I just kept my strip whole and just
And
kept
added
sewing
as
along
you
the
went.
side. But they're a little over 6.
Okay.
So I'm just going to cut her some for ease.
And you go all
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 four
four
sides.
sides?
Yeah, and you can go opposites if
And
you
do you-
want.
overlap them, or do they not connect?
They don't connect.
Okay.
Nope, they don't connect. So
So then I push that back, right?
you push that back and sew the next one on.
All right.
And we'll get a close-up of that when we're done with it and you bring it over here. Press that little fold out of
Okay.
there for her. Here's the next one. You do have a scissor cut on this, you know.
Oh, I'm not.
We all have different personal
Yeah.
sewing machines, so we get used to different habits.
There we go. Sorry about that.
And one more. Here you go. Now these are the closest corners on the whole block.
Okay.
And so, so what she's talking about is she sewed this one on, but then you want to roll it back and you want to sew this one on and roll them back. So go ahead and press those out, and then we're going to trim it again. So we trim it every round. And honestly, no matter how hard I tried to keep this like perfectperfectly square, I was really glad at the end of the day I could square it up with a 12.5-inch ruler.
Yeah.
Because for some reason it just didn't love it. So then on this row, because there's not really a big straight seam, what I did was I used my little ruler and I put it here. I put my seam on the 1 1/4 line because it's a 1.5-inch strip, and we took a seam in it, so it brings it down to 1 1/4. And so then we're just going to trim this off like this, and I did it here. And I use the seams line a lot.
That'll help keep it square.
Keep it square, yeah.
Or at least, things
Yeah,
will
I mean, it wasn't
look like they're going in the right direction.
It wasn't like they were crazy off, just a little off.
Close enough, right?
All right, so next we're going to do the same thing. We're going to add 4 more pieces. So here's, and let me just, wherever you add your color before, you want to make sure and add that color on the same side as the color. Color to color, white to white.
Oh, so you want like pinks lined up with pinks?
No, I just mean the color
adding
goes
it to the
on the
same
color.
side.
Print. Okay.
Print, yeah, so print to print.
I thought you were saying if you had a pink one, keep going with the pink.
You can. It would,
Yeah.
it would make a really cool pattern. I wanted to scrap mine up. You guys know, I love scrappy.
Yeah.
And so that's just how I did it. Here's the next one. And you'll get all sizes of these as you're cutting along. And I was actually, when I first started, I was very careful not to put the same patterns together and not do any of that. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They don't even look, can't even tell what block they belong to at the end of the
Once
day.
you put them
I
all
need
next to one another.
Maybe this one.
Okay. And then how about this blue?
Yeah, that blue's so pretty.
Am I blue? And we are actually going to go out with 1, 2, 3 rounds of this, and then we're going to put a square, a white square on the corner, a white triangle on the corner.
All right, these are done.
All right.
Press again.
Press. I know. I was like, who wants to sew? Who wants to press? There's lots of both. There's work for all of you.
We will do it.
These are the fastest quilts, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's so little worry about it, but that's how I quilt. I don't like
I love it.
I don't like a bunch of fuss. And so again, here I am on the 1 1/4, or you have a line now to base it on, and it ends up being a little bit bigger than that. It doesn't matter either way. So we're trimming it down, and I'm just using this line right here now to make my straight edge. And again on this side.
So fast.
Well, and it's just easy.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where you don't have to think. And sometimes we need a little project where you don't really have to think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot less stress.
Yes, it is.
This would be a great one where you just kind of made a block every time you made a quilt with your scraps.
Oh,
yeah.
like
And then you could do
a
like,
leader and an ender.
yeah, something like that where it's just
Yeah, just go ahead and
fold
here.
it around.
No, I was going to have you just clip it, and here we go. I got
Just
4 more
fold it
for
and
you.
you can cut it.
All right. Grab my scissors. Oh, there you go. And we have 1, 2 in the corner. I had to check to make sure. I'm like, do we add a 3rd row of white? No, we're ready for the corner. As soon as we add the
After
next
the
color.
print, yeah.
One more print.
1 more print.
Okay. There you go.
All right, let's press this out. I'm going to clip this little corner for you so it makes it easier.
Awesome.
And then you're going to need 4 of these. So let's see, you got 1, 2, 3, 4.
Perfect.
And if you start on the end when you're cutting those, then we can save more pieces for the middle,
For the smaller pieces.
for the smaller pieces. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I really try to conserve my scraps. I'm not sure why our scrap bins never go down.
Yeah.
Yes,
They
I
just
think
multiply.
they multiply.
They do. They do. All right. Look how fun
Pretty
this.
fun how
Look
fast.
how
So
fun this is
cute.
looking,
Yeah, how
right?
fast it gets
All
built,
right. So
too.
now you're going to put those last corners on there, and make sure between your strips that you have some contrast, unless you plan it to do like all the blues, all the pinks. Like I
Yeah,
think this
that
would be a
would be really
really
pretty.
fascinating 2-color quilt.
It would be
You know, it was
beautiful.
just like wah 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 wah. That was my vibration noise.
Mhm, good job.
I recognized it immediately.
That's right. Oh gosh. Yeah, because all these little pieces will work on the first round of another
Right.
block.
I love that.
And
little waist.
and when I was doing, when you got the hang of it, I would do the same side like I do 4 blocks in a row,
Oh,
and
and
then
kinda
I do the
chain
next
piece 'em.
one. Yeah. And one more, darling.
All right. Getting there. Just want to make sure that wasn't folded under.
I love blocks like this where you just kind of circle around a middle.
Yeah.
It just comes together so quick. My brain likes it.
Yeah, I like it too. All right, there you go.
Thank you. With those little tails, it
It doesn't
They can
matter. We're going to
twist a
cut them
little.
off.
I know, it just
Yep.
feels like I'm doing something wrong.
Because it's all funky.
Yeah. There we go.
All righty. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to trim this last one off right here. Oh, let me get my little ruler. I like the little ruler for this thing so much better. It's just right there. So this is perfectly good size for a first or second round on another block. So don't lose those. All righty. And now what we want to do, let me trim that just a little closer, is we're going to put corners on the white sides. So these sides right here. So we're going to use a 6-inch square, and we're going to cut it diagonally one time. And you'll get 2 sides out of each square. And then we're just going to sew those on. And we are going to attach them out here on the white. So this has to go, let me get this right here where you can see that better. This has to go, you can see your little dog ears are going to overlap just a little bit on either side, but we're going to square all this up. And
Do you
so
center it? Like, do you
you
fold it in
can,
half?
you can. So I centered them for a while, and then I just started putting them on. But you can,
It was easy to eyeball it.
yeah, because it's just like you get used to how much it hangs off, because it hangs off a little bit more than we're used to.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
it's so forgiving because
Yeah.
you square it up, and so.
Makes sense.
At first I was like, let's use a 5-inch square, and it fit on there so tight, and I was like, I just need a little more room. So we went with a 6.
Perfect.
Here's another,
Okay.
and 2 more. Yeah, here, I can fold the little middle.
No, you're fine.
You good?
Yep, I'm good. You're going to square it up anyway.
I am. So grab that ruler
Oops.
down there.
I dropped
I didn't
that
see it
one.
up here on the table, and I was worried that I'd forgotten to put it up here.
Move your little bits for you.
There we go. And honestly, on my desk, these strips were everywhere, and I'm just grabbing a different color and grabbing a different
I
color.
dropped this one down
Oh,
here.
okay. There we go. And she's back.
And I'm back.
There we go.
Mine won't scissor cut if the presser foot is up, so I didn't think it would work.
Oh, and sometimes this one,
See, that's
sometimes
an issue.
sometimes it comes unthreaded when you use that scissor cut. There we go. There we are. All right, go ahead.
Okay.
Last corner. All right, now
There
if
we
you'll
go.
press these back, and we will lay it on here.
So funny,
And-
looking at those triangles on there, I was like, how is this going to end up a square? I just, I wasn't
It's
figuring
true.
it out
It
in
is
my
true.
head.
So what I did on this was that I went to, I tried to make it like right in the half, and because it's a 1/2 inch, and I don't do the math thing very well. I mean, I know it's 6 1/4, but I was just, it was just a little difficult for me. So I started making sure that these lines out here lined up with something, and so that it was just about even on all 4 sides. And like this one is, has a little bit showing here. And so then I just squared it up like this. And one more down here. There we go. And so I just kind of eyeballed it to make sure that it's going to be 12 1/2 inches. And then I want to show you something really interesting. So here's your block. This is what you end up
So
with.
pretty.
Isn't that
really,
so
really
cute?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a darling little block, comes together so fast. And these telephones.
Yeah.
I mean,
Cute.
what
Such a cute line.
what a fun memory that was. All right, so what I want to point out up here is that not all of my blocks came out perfect. And because I kind of eyeballed them, they're not all perfect. So like I want to point out right here. So like this one right here, can you see this one hangs over a little bit on either side? And this one is there. Some of them are a little bit off. This one has got a little bit off here. But because of the way it's set together, you'll never notice.
I was going to say, I would have never seen it if you hadn't pointed it out.
No, you would just never notice. And so it's one of those things where for me, once I got it, I got them together, I was watching it, but I was like, you know what? I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
And so I wanted this to be a carefree, easy block, and I think that's what we've got. And so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, again, 5 across by 5 down. So 25 12-inch blocks. We have a nice big 6-inch border out here, and I just love this floral, these big,
beautiful.
big cabbage roses.
It's really pretty.
And then our backing back here.
Those phones
It's
again.
the telephones.
They're so cute.
I love it.
And our quilting pattern is sticky buns. It's just a great round, round, round all over pattern. And now it's time for Natalie's. And I think this one's going to knock your socks off. Natalie, I just love this.
It's so clever.
It's
Thanks.
so clever.
I thought it was really cool. I saw a picture that looked like this. It had a very old antique quilt in the background. And when when we were given this template idea, I thought that's perfect. That will work for that. And then you don't have to piece in these little pieces.
No
So mine is
kidding.
a Quilt-As-You-Go 9-patch.
I love it.
Well, Quilt-As-You-Go Octagon 9-patch is what I
Sure.
actually called it, but that also is what it is.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I thought that was, it'd be easy to find it later.
You use the
I
large
used
template.
the large Octagon template, and
Now,
so
could
it's
you could do this with any of the templates, couldn't you?
any size.
Yes,
Yeah, you would just have to make your 9-patch in the middle smaller.
Right.
Okay.
And so that's actually what I was thinking when I was doing mine, is that you could start with the big or you could start with the tiny.
Oh, that's true.
The centers could all be
Yeah,
different. And
that's
honestly, I
true.
think it would work for yours
It
as
would.
well. Make
You'd
bigger
have
blooms.
Giant blooms, yes.
Giant
I love
blooms.
it.
You'd
Yeah.
have to have a full-size piece of fabric.
There
for
we
that.
go.
Yes.
To make the Quilt-As-You-Go Octagon 9-patch quilt, you're going to need 1 package of 10-inch squares, and we've used Happy Chance by Laura Heine for Windham. For your backing, you'll need 3 3/4 yards. You'll need some medium weight interfacing, and you'll also need the large Octagon template from Missouri Star Quilt Company. The first thing we're going to do is, well, I guess you could do it in either order. You need to do 2 things. You need to make your backing pieces.
Okay.
That's the full octagon, and I stitched that to an adhesive stabilizer, which means it has little bumps on one side and is smooth on the other side. So you're going to cut out identical pieces of your template with both fabrics. So we'll start with our background fabric, or backing, and I'm going to cut this into 10-inch strips, not with scissors.
I guess you could try.
I could try,
Here,
but
those are
not
from mine. Hand me those. and I'll
not
put 'em
gonna
back.
happen.
There we go.
All right, so we've got 12 to 12.
We get so many tools on the table.
Should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep.
There we go. So 10-inch strips.
All right, so we cut our background into 10-inch strips. Backing, background, it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
On this one, it
On
really
this
is
one.
because it's Quilt-As-You-Go.
This one has a little bit of a, I could feel that there was something off in the middle, and I didn't want
Want me
that
to press
mess it.
Or?
I don't think we need to. I just
Okay.
wanted to straighten it out. All right. So again, this is going to fit nicely top to bottom, but we have a little wiggle room, and I'm going to scoot it more towards the fold because we have a large chunk of selvage over here. And then just cut this guy out. And I kept my whole strip folded in half because then you get all 4 cuts at once without having to whoops, that one got a little off. Sorry about that.
It happens.
Yeah, it probably wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah, pretty forgiving.
All right, same thing with your stabilizer. You'll cut a 10-inch strip and then cut it into,
Octagons.
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 Just the same as
I
you
can't
did
even
with your
tell you
fabric.
how many times I call them hexagons.
Yeah.
Like, no,
We use
octagon.
that pretty frequently also.
Yeah.
All right, and this is a Pellon product. Just you can use any stabilizer that you have at home. We used 911F fusible featherweight. It's the same thing I love for t-shirt quilting.
Yeah, I was going to
Yeah.
say, that's the one from
So-
t-shirt quilting, too.
Yeah. So if you have stuff at home from leftover from a t-shirt quilt, that'd be perfect for this.
These are so pretty.
All right, so you're going to put these together. The bumpy side is what we're going to consider the right side because what we want is for that to flip and be on the outside when we're
Okay.
done. So right sides together, lining up all of those. And I just went end to end.
Oh,
I
right
went
off
off
the
the edge every time.
Okay.
And I think that helped kind of keep everything pretty straight.
All righty.
So that as you line them up, you're not going to end up with like one side that's longer than the other.
Helps with
So-
accuracy.
Yeah, so go ahead and stitch the entire thing completely shut all the way around all the edges.
I guess I don't have to cut it every time. I can
Do
just
not,
lift and move.
You don't
lift and
have to
move.
cut, you just want to make sure that your
Oops.
seams overlap.
What's
So you
that?
get a nice,
That seam wiggled a little bit. Will it matter?
probably not.
I have a wiggle in there.
No, you just want your seams to overlap so that you can get like a nice crisp corner.
All right.
Okay, so now we're going to pull this apart
Oh, and you are going to need my
and
scissors.
cut it. And do you have like a paintbrush or a dowel rod over there?
I do.
Okay.
A paintbrush.
Well, I like the tip of my paintbrush because it's smooth, and so it's not going to like tear
This is
anything up.
This is pretty smooth.
That'll work, yeah. Okay, so you're just going to cut a nice big slit, and if it rips when you're trimming or flipping, it's fine. Doesn't matter.
You flip all the
you
bumps
flip
to
the
the
whole
outside.
thing. Yep, all the way out. We're going to poke out those little corners
you
because we
want this?
need those. Yep, I'll get to that in a minute. I do it first with my fingers, and then I go back through and make everything nice and sharp.
So did you just sit and make all of your backgrounds like this and had them ready
So
to
then
go?
they're all ready to go, and you're not going to press anything at this point because you'll glue
will
your iron
Yeah, that'd
down
be bad news.
to your fabric.
She won't tell you how she knows
So
that.
just poke them out. If you want to run it along the seam, that helps to kind of push it out
Yeah,
so
it
it's
really
nice
looks
and
nice.
Kinda
flat.
like finger pressing a little
A
bit.
little bit, yeah. But it just kind of gets everything nice and keeps it nice and sharp so that when you're ready to add your 9 patch, these are all ready to go.
Looks great.
All right, so you are going to make a big pile. I think we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 by 7.
Okay.
Is that right?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. So make about 49 of them. That'll be what you need.
And the quilt ends up being about 46 by 46. It's a pretty good size.
Yes, because these end up being like a 6.5-inch block when finished.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
And that's where we're coming to next is our 9 patch. So I took my entire 10-inch square pack and I cut them into 2.5-inch strips.
Okay.
So not scissors.
We keep reaching
keep them
around.
like we
around
need
though.
those
We might
scissors,
need
but-
them. Yeah. So I just cut this into 2.5-inch strips, and then we're going to sew these strips together in sets of 3.
Oh,
And
and
did you
that's what's
do,
going to
like-
scrap them all up.
Light, dark, light, or was it
I
just totally
did,
scrappy?
but I didn't.
Okay.
So all you just want to make sure, and I've got a bunch left over from my other set, so you don't have to use those exact same ones.
So
I
you-
did pull this piece out because I didn't want it
To match
end
your
up
background.
disappearing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I just didn't use that one.
So I have these two. What other color? Oh,
How about this gray?
That'd be perfect.
Yeah.
And sets of 3. Did you
Yep.
worry about the light being in the middle or anything?
I did not. I did
Okay.
mine completely scrappy, and at the end I'll show you kind of what it might have looked like if I had done a light dark. Because I thought about that as I was going along too, like how would this look and how would that look?
Would it
There's
have
like a
changed
bunch
it?
of different ways that this could go together. And I also will say I had quite a few strips left over. I think I probably could have made the quilt bigger, but I'm not sure if I would have had enough to go on both sides. I don't know if
Yeah.
I would have ended up, it was like just enough that I kind of thought I might be able to go bigger, but and also not quite enough variety by the time I
Yeah.
got to that point. So, okay, so then what we're going to do is cut these the opposite direction, again, into 2.5-inch sets.
And then sew those together.
And sew them back together. And I've
Make
got,
a line patch.
yep, so for this one, so we don't, I have this variety if we can put in the middle, unless you want to sew a whole nother 3-strip set, but I think that's probably unnecessary at this point, because you get the idea. And I've got a bunch of random 9 patches made that I think will give us a good starting place. Now I need at least one more of these, if you don't mind.
Okay, so the ones you sewed, you're 1/4 of an inch bigger than mine.
Yes, that's okay though. That's okay because those edges don't actually show up.
Oh, okay.
So if your 6 patch, if your 9 patch isn't exactly square or isn't, you know, if all the edges aren't super lined up or it doesn't measure 6.5 perfectly, it's going to be fine.
Okay.
All of these edges on the outside are going to be tucked inside this section when we fold those sides in, so it doesn't have to be perfect.
Okay.
So
Excellent.
will you go ahead and stitch this one also, because I want to show putting the 2 of them together. All right, so one of the things that will really help when you're getting ready to place these 9 patches and sew all your pieces together is marking that square. So you can see on here that we have these lines that will show you, why is this so hard suddenly? Okay, here we go. So it shows you where the square should go. And I'm using the one where the lines go into the corners here, because then I have this pointed side that flips into this square. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So what you're going to do is take, and this I'm just showing it for reference. So we're going to draw a line, and I found that I didn't need to draw the entire square. I just draw one side on every piece. And then, do you have a pencil back there, Mom?
I do. Here we go.
That'll work. A pen will work too. It's all on the inside, so it doesn't really matter. So I just did a straight line here and a straight line across here.
Kind of make an L.
Mm-hmm. And then as you're lining them up, when you get ready to sew, you'll put those 2 pieces together and you'll sew on the drawn line on one side. The other side will be blank. You don't need it because you can't see it anyways. Mm-hmm. But when you open that back up, you'll still have your side to keep going as you go. So pick a side and just do the top and bottom, and it works the same when you're sewing your long rows together. You have all the lines drawn on one side. So it works really, really well.
All right, got this one ready for you.
Okay, great. I'm going to go ahead and draw the line on this one. Same thing, just pick your side.
And you just.
So you're wanting that point to stick out. That's what
yep,
you're looking
you want
for.
this point.
Okay.
And then this point here. And the way that I always keep it square by making sure that line stays square, and then these ones line up here. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so now what we're going to do is place our 9 patches, and you just pick whichever ones you want. And I did not press these before. I pressed them a little. So this is going to be how they're going to look. But what you're going to do before you do this is start stitching all these rows together. Okay. And I stitched it in rows this way. So you're going to put all of your background pieces together in a long row
before you
add your 9 patches. Yep.
Okay.
So these get lined up just like this.
Oh, and because
I drew the line on one side, you're going to stitch on this side, and then when you go to add another one, you'll be able to see that stitch line on that side. So it's just a little assembly trick that makes it easier to go ahead and sew along as you go. And I think we can get the idea with just a couple of all right, and so at this point, you're not going to sew the long row together. We're going to go ahead and put our 9 patches in.
But if you were making the quilt, you would just put all
sew
7
the whole
of these
row.
and sew the whole long row. Okay.
Yep. And then once you've got that going, what we're going to do is place our 9 patches, and then we're going to carefully, using a pressing cloth, stitch or press down these center
Okay.
folds, the center fold.
Do you want to fold this? If this is the top of the quilt, do you want to go ahead and fold these down too?
You can, as long as it is the top of the quilt.
Okay.
If you're just doing your rows, you're just going to do the middles and the end. You can fold your end in. What you want to happen is you want to have this whole row ready to go, and then you're going to stitch this whole row to the next row. So you're going to do all your insides first, and then I did my middles of my rows in between, and then I did all the outside edges at the end.
Okay.
Okay.
So if you want to press
Just
that down.
touch with the point, maybe.
Yep.
Yeah,
I think I can
and
get
we
it
can
this
use this scrap here as pressing cloth. So basically the way that the pressing cloth works is you put it over the edge. So for here, we'd put it over this edge, and then Misty can get up there and press in
Except
the
you
nine
don't
patch.
you don't want it to adhere to the fabric.
It
when
won't
you fold it
adhere
down.
super hard. You can
yeah.
you can take it
lifts
right off.
Oh, okay.
Look
So,
at that.
and then if any adhesive gets on here, you're going to throw that pressing cloth
I
away,
just
and
worried
it's not
that
going to be a big
all
deal.
the adhesive would
I
be
did too
gone.
once you said
So
it.
it doesn't go away that quick.
Okay.
But then you can press it enough that you'll get adhesion here. It just
Okay.
you just do the best you can.
Do you want me to press that side too, or does it matter?
What side?
Just these sides of the 9 patches?
No,
Okay.
they just have to be in enough that you can put your top stitching here.
Perfect.
And you can use any stitch you want. It's just a finishing top stitch. You could do a zigzag or a straight seam. I used the feather stitch because I think it looks really cool to
I
have it
love
go
that
like
you
on
use the
both
feather
sides.
stitch.
Beautiful.
And then you'll notice if you get in close, you can see how we have these ones here, and then the long row flips over and it folds out on these sides. So I think it looks really clean
It's beautiful.
that way. I like it.
It's very good. Very good.
So, I mean, that's basically it. There's not a whole lot
So
else.
awesome, Nat.
That's
But
really cool.
I do want to show you, so I really wanted to know how it would look in 2 colors. And so I made a few strip sets. I just used a white and a red, and I did both,
Opposite.
2 reds on one side and 2 whites on this
Which
one.
is honestly how we normally make a 9 patch.
Right.
Often.
With lights and darks. Yeah,
Right.
often.
And so this one is really cute because it has the white in this corner, and then this one is the opposite.
Oh,
And so you can see how it kind of will make different
Oh my
different
goodness,
looking
yes.
patterns. This one kind of looks more like a
little
like a
star.
short stubby
Yeah, like a
star, and
little
then this
pennant.
one has the more
Like the-
pinwheel, or I mean
Periwinkle.
periwinkle corners. Yeah, so there's a lot of options for this.
Well,
Love it.
and if you change this out, like if you
a
fussy
whole
cut
new
something
Well, I
Wow.
still,
there,
yeah, I'm like, okay, well, let's see what it looks like with a pinwheel in the middle.
Yes.
or using
Or
denim on the
square
background.
and a square.
or-
Oh yeah,
That'd be great with
denim would
denim.
be great. That's definitely
Yeah.
something on my list. You know, I love a good denim quilt.
I know.
A good
it's
raw
so
edge.
Cute.
I wouldn't stabilize my denim. I would definitely do this one raw edge.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, no, it's
So great,
really,
Nat.
really
yeah.
cute. Great
so
idea.
that's basically it. I mean, it's that simple, and then your quilt is done. I will also say I did not put any batting in this, but because there's stabilizer added, it gives it a really nice weight.
Let's
It
look at the
doesn't
back.
feel
Let's look at the
super
back.
heavy.
So you can see,
You can't see a lot on the
No, but
back because it blends in really well.
but you can see the squares.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. And I will also say on this quilt, the fabric is kind of purple, but there's also a lot of red accents, and I went with a color that's kind of maroonish, and it just blended in really well. So you just kind of want to get some top stitching thread, if you don't want it to show, that blends with your background, because it's not going to show up as much on the 9 patch as it will on the background. So.
Yeah. And
You
I
know,
always
whatever
I just lay threads
fabric
across
you're
it
using.
and kind of see what disappears.
Yep.
That's kind of what
yep.
I do.
And if you want the opposite, obviously, go bold.
Yeah,
For that.
Go for contrast.
go for contrast.
I love it.
All right.
Anyways, that's it ended up. Oh, you said 46 by 46.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a little baby quilt. I think you could
Table
very
topper.
easily make it bigger.
Yeah, just keep going, right?
Just add another layer
Absolutely.
cake.
Absolutely.
Keep on going till you're till you're content with it.
Well, I think we've come up with 3 great ideas.
Yeah.
Well, girls, I think we really rocked the Octagon template. I think we did
so
a
too.
great job. We love this one. We love this one. We love this one.
So
we hope
much
you
fun.
guys enjoyed this triple play on the Octagon template from the Missouri Star Quilt Company. Hi, everybody. It's Jenny from the Missouri Star Quilt Company, and I am here with Natalie and with Misty, and we hope you enjoyed watching our latest triple play. You can find us together on the 3rd Friday of each month as we hit another tutorial out of the park. If you aren't already part of the Missouri Star Quilt Company family, be sure to subscribe and click that bell to be notified each time we release a new video. See you next time.